Welcome back to our 60s and 70s horror films and fashion. I'm Ashley, and if you're new here, welcome to the channel. I'm a lover of all things 60s and 70s, the fashion, the film, the horror films, music, and all things in between, but not the values. Like to make that clear. And today we're getting back into it with featuring the film from 1971, The Velvet Vampire. And the reason I picked this film was honestly because it has the best fashion of 1971 in a horror film. Like, the fashion is amazing. The movie, not that amazing. It's a good, like, vampire film, but overall, it is the fashion. If you love 70s fashion, you will love this movie. And if you love horror, you will too, because it's kind of one of those just classic cult vampire films, and it definitely has some good points to it. Like, the story isn't terrible, but it really is just one of those films that once you see it, you're like, cool, but you want to keep watching it because the fashion is just so good. And if you're a fan of that, like me, you're sold. Ultimately, that's the reason I picked it was because of the fashion. So, you know the deal. What we do is we go through first the film, the plot of it, and then, of course, some standout moments. And then we hit the fashion. We talk about some of the fashion that was really popular in 1971 and dive into the film and what were some standout, outfits and things like that from the movie. There were actually a lot of other things in the movie that were really like stood out to me, like some of the suitcases and the lounge chairs. They just were super 70s and I love them. So we'll talk about that as well. But let's get started. So let's talk about 1971's The Velvet Vampire. It's a 1971 film, an American vampire film. And what happens in this film is that Lee and his wife Susan accept an invitation from a mysterious woman, Diane, to visit her secluded desert estate, unaware that Diane is a vampire and that tensions are going to arise as soon as they get there. And kind of just chaos erupts once they get there. It kind of is a never ending, like, just weird things happening. And you see this throughout the story as it unfolds. And the ending is actually really good for the movie itself. And we'll talk a little bit about that later, but it ends in a way that is very classic vampire, but then there's a little twist at the end, which I enjoyed. So first and foremost in the movie, it starts with this kind of like psychedelic background. And that was really to me very 1970s, like that decade. So I loved that. And the music was very like gothic. So it set the tone for the film. Even though there's not like a lot of gothic atmosphere, it did set that tone for like a vampire film, which I enjoy. I enjoy that cheese factor. And throughout the movie, they do kind of have that gothic yet romantic music that's known in kind of like vampire films, which again was great to kind of set the tone for the movie. Now, in the movie, there is, a lot of nudity, which I think that's just part of that 70s vampire atmosphere or like tone, or I don't know what it is, but they loved that in the vampire movies in like the 70s. And what I loved was that it did give that mystique to the vampire of, again, like even in the original Dracula with Bela Lugosi, he had this like romantic quality to him. And that's kind of what they gave to Diane the vampire's character, is this like romantic, like kind of aura to her. And that really is something that is kind of in combination with vampires. A big kind of storyline within a lot of vampire movies is that romantic factor. So I kind of get why they did that. For me, what really stood out was just like kind of like iconic imagery that you know and you love in vampire films. There's a part of the film where Diane is sitting behind like a double-sided mirror. They can't see her, but she can see them. And she's sitting in this like gothic style chair and there's like a skull behind her. And just she has this beautiful like long, dark hair and the makeup is done with like, black eyeliner, and it's just a really great like gothic vampire image of her sitting there. And that really stood out to me. I love that. That was probably the only like gothic scenery you really saw in this movie because it takes place in a California desert. So you don't get that type of vibe from this film. I really enjoyed though the beginning of the movie where Diane is walking and you don't know yet that she is the vampire. And spoiler alert, she's walking and this guy tries to basically like mug her and like basically try to do as he pleases with her. And she ends up like killing him because like she's a vampire. But the way that it's done, it's that like classic like horror film where the lady's walking alone and she notices something's weird and it kind of makes you think you're like, oh my gosh, this woman's in trouble. Like she's gonna get like killed by a vampire, but in turn, she is actually the vampire. So I thought that was a really good like twist to the beginning. And it isn't good for a while, so it's like a good beginning. But that was a very standout moment for me. And next up is the part where Susan, her husband and Diane decide they're going to go sightseeing. And Susan's like, I'm good. I'm going to like lay here. And she ends up like laying down and I don't know why she does this. So in my mind, I'm like, this is weird. Why would you lay down in the middle of like this like shanty town and just try to sunbathe in all this dirt? But she does that. She puts a towel down. She has her bikini on. She's laying there. And all of a sudden, this snake, this like rattlesnake comes on over. And that's like fear unlocked. I don't like snakes. So to me, I was like, nope. Like, this is like a fear for me, and it creeped me out. The snake gets on her, and she doesn't like notice. How can you not like feel that when you're like, I don't know. That's just me. And she sees it and she screams. And in my mind, I'm like, the snake's gonna bite her. If you like scream like that, the snake is like obviously going to bite you. And Lee and Diane run out, and he's like, stay still. And she's screaming, and the snake's still just like, getting ready to attack. And I'm like, I don't know what I would have done if I was in her position. That like freaks me out. I can't even think about it. My anxiety gets high. But Lee, he like takes his stick and like flicks the snake off, which I'm like, where did it go? It must have been pissed. I'm sure it wanted to like come back and like attack them. And Dan's like, "Oh my God, you've been bit," which it's weird because you don't see that. You're like, when the hell did that snake have time to bite her? Was it when she was screaming? Like, what did we not see that? And so that was just that whole scene was to me like creepy. It was like unsettling if you don't like snakes. It's like super unsettling. So that was a standout moment to me. That was like scary. Like I think that was like the scariest part of the movie to me. I was like, that was good. That was good. But it definitely was like, I think in a way symbolic because while that snake was like initially going and like sliding on to Susan, while Lee and Diane were sightseeing, they started like making out. So it was like seduction, like a snake is sneaky. Like I think that was like a little bit of symbolism, but that could be me shooting really high for this movie. But in my mind, that's maybe what it was. So I thought that was kind of cool. The next scene that was really, I thought, iconic was Diane likes to visit the grave. Diane likes to visit the grave of her dead husband, who we soon find out died a very long time ago, making Diane very old. And she goes there to like put flowers down occasionally. And we see her go there and she like digs up the grave and is just laying on his coffin. And it's just a really iconic imagery of her. And she's in this fabulous like outfit laying on the coffin. And her servant goes to like basically see if she's okay. And she's just, I'm sad, my husband, I miss him. The thirst is getting worse. And this scene was really good because I didn't expect it. He's like, I'll help you, give me your hand. And he reaches for her hand and she pulls him in and kills him. And that was like a really big like twist because that was like she had raised him and he was her servant. So it was like she double crossed him and was kind of like, it was just wild. You didn't expect it. But the imagery from that scene of her laying on that coffin was great. And then that twist was made that scene even better. Next up is a really good, I thought, like practical effect that they did where Susan basically figures out that Diane's the vampire and she stabs her through her hand. And it's such a good effect. Like, I love practical effects. I'm a fan of those. Like, I don't like CGI. I think it looks like CGI. I like that old school horror where they're like using prosthetics and all these things. I enjoy that. I think that's cool. And I love that makeup artists are still doing those things because it should be done. And I I personally think it looks better because you know when it's computer generated, you know? So I thought that was a great practical effect. And I loved that scene. Now, the next scene that was really, I thought, just beautifully shot was when Diane is like basically hunting down Susan. And again, these are big spoilers, so I guess that's good because I feel like you should know what this movie's about a little bit. But I think maybe like stop now and go watch it and then come back to my video because those surprises make the movie better, if that makes sense. But she goes and she's hunting down Susan in this bus terminal and she like follows her. She's chasing her. I'm like, why aren't people being like, what is wrong? Like, why is this woman chasing her? Like, nobody cares. They're just walking. And she gets to a point where there's this giant cross and basically a stand where there's all these crosses and religious relics. And Diane stops in her tracks at the big cross, clearly because that for vampires is like a no-no, right? And she's wearing a beautiful outfit. We're going to talk about that later. She's wearing a hat. That's why I wore a hat today because she wears a really iconic black hat throughout the film to protect her from the sun. And she stops in her tracks. And then Susan realizes this. So she gets everyone around there to grab a religious relic across something. And they basically surround her. And there's just a scene of just like the like shadows of people holding the crosses and like shadows on the ground of crosses and all these things to finally she, perishes because of the crosses and also the sun. Like her hat flies off, the sun and the religious relics kill her ultimately. So big spoiler there. But it was just shot really well. I liked how they shot that whole scene. It was good. And lastly, the very, very ending, the big plot twist. So again, if you haven't seen it, stop here, go watch, come back to my movie, and then we'll talk about it. But when she dies, you're like, the movie's done. Great. And then you see, of course, Susan with um, in the beginning of the movie, they go to an art gallery and her friend owns it. And now her friend is like taking care of her after this whole ordeal. And she asks him, did you know that she was a vampire? And he was like, well, I knew she had like a blood disorder. Like, and I think that's what was going on with her. Like, maybe she just thought, like, she went kind of crazy and thought she was a vampire. And you're like, huh, maybe that was it. But you're like, no, that wasn't it. And you're like, why is this guy like covering up for her? Well, good old Susan starts bleeding. And this guy starts sucking her blood, and his eyes do that like hypnotizing thing. And that happened often with Diane hypnotizing people. And it just ends like that. So he was a vampire. Better yet, what I found like kind of rewatching it was that I think that was her dead husband because I think they had the same name. So I think they were working in cahoots, which is crazy. So now I like want to rewatch it just because of that. I'm like, did I miss things? Like I need to rewatch. But that was such, I thought, a great plot twist that made the movie better. I feel like in between the movie wasn't super great. The storyline's okay, but there are so many kind of like great parts to it. So you got to go into it thinking this is like a cult vampire film. It's a vampire movie. Go into it looking and feeling like I want to have fun watching this, not like this is going to be like a theatrical gonna make it this is gonna be theatrical amazingness, even if that's a word. It's not, but it is just a good like vampire film. It is what it is. It's one of those vampire films that are out there. But it's a pretty good one. It's not terrible. But the reason I picked it was because it is one of those films that's like has great moments, but the fashion is so good, and that's what I want to talk about next. It's so good. Like the fashion of that movie, best horror fashion in 1971. Maybe even up there in with all the movies in the 70s. It's one of the top. The fashion's so good. Oh, so good. I want so many outfits from this movie. So let's talk about it. But first, we have to dive into what was like trending in 1971. Let's talk about that first. 1971 was kind of a blend of the 1960s bohemian fashion with pushing the envelope with some newer styles of the 70s. Specifically, bell bottoms, patchwork on denim, and high waisted trousers or jeans or pants in general. Some key trends were hot pants, maxi dresses, and peasant blouses were very, very on trend in 1971. And of course, colors like earth tones, like a mustard color and orange and things like that, which we see a lot of in this movie. Hairstyles, shag haircut was really in, and it was in for women and men. And you do see this haircut in this film. The main character Lee has a like shag haircut. It's like iconic of that time. And then of course, accessories that were really big were big belts. And you do see a lot of that in this film. There's a lot of belt wearing, and they're really great actually, and I kind of want some of them. Now let's talk about the standout fashion moments in this movie. There were so many. So first and foremost, the beginning scene, Diane's walking alone and she is in this red dress and it has white lace trim on it. It is so cute. It's just a great dress. I love anything with like a lace trim. It very much is iconic for the 70s, that look. And it was just a great dress, fitted in all the right places, just an iconic dress. And I love that symbolism of wearing red. She's a vampire. I thought it was great. The bell bottoms in this film, the jeans are so good. A lot of the girls in the film wear this, specifically Susan. Great, like when I'm talking like 70s bell bottoms, these are like iconic 70s bell bottoms. What you think of when you think of those. And they're just so great. Any top you wear with them, they look awesome. There is a moment where she's wearing this orange, like earth tone, which was really popular turtleneck, but it's a tank top with the bell bottoms. Chef's kiss, such a cute outfit. And throughout the whole film, these bell-bottom jeans make appearances and they're just great. And I recently just got a pair of my first 70s bell-bottoms, but I want a pair like this. Like these were so great. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. Now, Diane the vampire has the best style in this film. Her and Susan both have great style, but like Diane, some of the fits on point. And one of those is the scene where the first night they come, she's in this beautiful, almost like silver glittery dress. It's more metallic looking and it has a bow in the front. It is so gorgeous. It is just such a great outfit. It really reminds me of like a space age style of the 60s that meets the 70s. Very kind of like disco glam. And I love that metallic look. I think it's a good like going out outfit. I don't think it's like an everyday fit, but it is so beautiful. And she has this gorgeous big hair. Her hair's teased. And it just looks great. The overall look of that outfit with the hair, makeup is iconic. It's so good. And it makes me want to get a like metallic type dress like that because it just stands out so much. And, life's too short, stands out. Consistently through the film, Diane is wearing this like flowy red, like It's a dress, but it's also like a nightgown, and it's gorgeous. Just the way it flows, the sleeves flow out, so does the bottom. Again, a little symbolism there. It's red, so vampire blood, red, seduction. It's kind of all that symbolism rolled into one, but it is beautiful. And again, I mentioned this before in a lot of videos where just the nightwear in the time of the 60s and 70s was just so beautiful. Like it was not just a pair of like sweatpants or pajama pants. It was like these cute, like beautiful flowing like nightgowns and robes that matched, and I just absolutely adore that. I still have not gotten one, but I have just some ideas of types of like nightwear that I would love to get from the 60s and 70s, and I've seen a couple that I really like, and hopefully I add that to my collection very soon. Susan also has a beautiful nightgown. It's a shorter one, almost baby doll style and white and flowy. And it is so cute. I love it. I think it looks super comfortable as well. And she wears that a couple times in the film, and I loved that as well. Both of those are great. If I was going to pick one, though, I'd definitely pick Susan's. I think it's just cuter in that baby doll style. Speaking of nightwear, there is a night robe that Diane wears in one scene, and it has like fluffy it has a fluffy like perimeter around the collar, and then on the sleeves, it is gorgeous. And again, like the nightgowns, even in the 60s and 70s, were just so beautiful, and it made going to bed glamorous. And I think that is really, really cool. Now, again, Diane with the outfits. She comes in clutch with these outfits. They're just great. She has an outfit near the end of the movie. It is a very like monotone outfit. It's like orange, but different shades of orange. And it's a sweater and a skirt, and it has like a little belt and these like dark orange boots. They're higher boots. That outfit is just, I love it. It's so cool. I love when people take different shades of one color and put it into an outfit. And that's exactly what she does. It a little bit reminded me of Scooby-Doo, but I'm here for it. I love that. I was like, yes. And this was actually one of the images that I saw from this film that made me want to watch it and see the fashion in it. So really, it's a big standout outfit for me, and it is from that iconic scene of her laying on the coffin. And I'll insert a picture of that here. Now, at the very, very end of the movie, again, Diane comes bringing the outfit. In that last scene, she had to, right? She is wearing this cape, and it's white, and it has a bow, and she's running in this, chasing after Susan, and she eventually, succumbs to all the crosses and religious relics in the sun, and the cape is beautiful, but then as she's like kind of like dying from all of these things happening because she's a vampire, the cape comes off, and she's wearing almost this cute, I can't tell if it's a romper or a skirt, but it's white on top, dark on the bottom, and has like a bow on top. And it is just that combination, the cape, and then underneath it was matching. Oh, and a hat like this. It was just such a sophisticated yet trendy look for 1971, and I loved it. It was such like a way for Diane to go out. Like she went out in style as she should. Now, I did mention some decor and accessories that stood out, and I wanted to talk about it. So, the suitcases they bring to stay at Diane's, they're flowers, and they're like green and blue, iconic 70s like bags. Love them, would love to find them. If you know me, you know I love 60s and 70s suitcases. I think they're great. I have a small one that is for my makeup, but I would love like a matching set and something like that. I definitely would love. And then, of course, there is these lounge chairs that you often see Susan laying on, and they have kind of a similar pattern. There's flowers on them, and I absolutely would love that in my backyard, not gonna lie. I'm a sucker for flowers. As you can see, I have tons of flower imagery in my house. That's one of my favorite kind of designs from the 70s, and I absolutely love it. But as you can see, overall, this film had ultimate fashion, whether it was sometimes decor accessories or just fashion itself. It really was a big showcase for 1971 fashion in the best way. And if you love horror and fashion, this is the movie for you. Best fashion, hands down, horror movie wise of 1971, top in the 70s for sure. And if you just like quirky, kind of cult classic vampire movies, this is your movie. And you've probably seen it if you do love vampire films. So that's really all I have to say today about our 60s and 70s horror film and fashion series. And we'll come back next week with a new movie, of course. And look out for that by subscribing and hitting the bell so you know when the new video drops. And of course, share and like. That supports me and I appreciate it. And just thank you for watching. I love doing this and also hearing from you guys and creating this community of people that love the 60s and 70s and, of course, horror movies. Until next time, I'll see you.